In the last video, we discussed the prevalence of chronic illnesses. Here, we will cover psychological responses to those illnesses. Because these challenges from chronic illness are so salient to self-concept, many individuals experience high levels of anxiety about what it means to be ill and how to respond to that chronic illness. This anxiety increases overall stress levels, which can have physiological influences on the body, thereby potentially interfering with treatment effectiveness. Anxiety and stress can also create independent symptoms that may overlap with existing symptoms, creating ambiguity and confusion about those symptoms. Research suggests this anxiety is particularly high when experiencing uncertainty about the chronic illness, such as during initial diagnosis or when awaiting uncertain news about test results. In response to the stress of experiencing a chronic illness, many people engage in avoidant coping styles, such as denial. As seen with stress responses, denial can be mentally protective in the short term, but costly for long-term adjustment. Not only do people in denial ignore potential treatment or intervention options, but they may also continue engaging in behaviors that exacerbate the illness or causal factors. Moreover, as chronic illness progresses and people continue to face potentially growing challenges to their self-concept and physical capabilities, many experience depression. In fact, 1/3 of all chronic illness patients report symptoms of depression, and 1/4 of all chronic illness patients suffer from severe depression. Depression can exacerbate symptoms and susceptibility as people reduce engagement in social behaviors and care involvement, as they reduce adherence by devaluing personal treatment and intervention efforts, or it interferes with decision-making processes and result in a positive feedback loop of negative emotions. These physical and psychological challenges can result in detriments to an individual's quality of life. Quality of life, or QOL, refers to the standard of health, comfort, and happiness experienced by an individual or a group. This includes variables specific to the individual's current state, such as mental and physical health, as well as variables associated with immediate external circumstances and the wider environment. For instance, quality of life takes into account social relationships, satisfaction with work, involvement in community, and financial stability. If any of those variables suffer, it makes it more challenging for an individual to seek out appropriate resources for health, comfort, and happiness. Quality of life also depends on the laws and policies that affect the individual, as well as availability of public services. For example, groups that have reason to perceive systematic injustices and threats to physical well-being of themselves or similar others may struggle to feel the same comfort available to others who feel more protected. For these reasons, as well as the prevalence and effects of chronic illness, health psychologists are interested in interventions to increase quality of life, function, and progression of illness. For one, psychologists are interested in availability of medical facilities and screening services. People who live in major metropolitan areas generally have greater access to healthcare and chronic illness treatment centers than those who live in rural environments. Increased distance from providers reduces care utilization, resulting in greater dependency on local resources and community. Although this has the benefit of increased community involvement and potential social support, low expertise can result in lack of accurate information or even overconfidence in prognosis. Thus, many health psychologists focus on efforts to enable greater access to all individuals. Physical activity is also important. Whereas exercise can be expected to improve fitness in most individuals, for people with chronic illnesses it can be highly beneficial. A systematic review of physical activity trials in cancer survivors reports improvements related to fatigue, functional aspects of quality of life, anxiety, and self-esteem involving exercise. For type 2 diabetes patients, structured exercise programs, physical activity, and dietary advice from a physician potentially affect the course of the disease. Researchers propose that exercise helps reduce deficits to physical functionality, as well as providing natural stress reduction, resulting in better physical and mental health. Experimental studies have also consistently linked alcohol beverage consumption with the development of several chronic disorders such as cancer, cardiovascular diseases, liver cirrhosis, diabetes, and obesity. Similarly, smoking tobacco products have been linked to numerous chronic disorders, not only in the lungs but throughout the body, even as far as infertility. However, these products continue to be regularly consumed, particularly in low-income communities. Education as well as lifestyle stress contribute to greater usage, and marketers are quick to jump on this market, heavily promoting their products in these communities. This systematic difference in how alcohol and tobacco products are promoted is connected to systematic differences in chronic illness rates as well among high and low income groups. Similarly, education about healthy eating and access to nutrition is systematically different in some communities versus others. Over 20 million people live in neighborhoods with limited access to fresh, affordable, healthy foods, or live more than a mile away from a grocery store. This results in greater reliance on fast food or processed food products, which contain chemicals and low nutritional value that interferes with physical functioning. These areas are known as food deserts, and the next video highlights how communities and public health officials are trying to combat this issue.